Dear learners, greetings of the day. In today's session, we shall be studying about an interesting alcoholic beverage known as rum. The objective of this session are to learn definition of rum. You'll be able to understand manufacturing process of rum and also to study types of rum. Let's begin. However, let's take a look at the short history or story how rum was born. The story of rum begins in a sea. Back in 17th century, Caribbean islands or Caribbean was the world's powerhouse for sugar production. And when the sugar was made by using sugarcane juice, the residual product or the main industrial waste was called as molasses. The colonial leaders who were into sugar production were wondering how to get rid of the molasses. And then the slaves or colonial slaves, they figured out that there was enough sugar that was present in molasses to attract the yeast, and so they fermented and distilled it into alcohol, calling it, or that is how rum was born. Let's see what is rum. Rum is an alcoholic beverage distilled from sugarcane, either pure cane sugar or molasses. Molasses, which is refined from sugar by boiling. That is distilled to become alcohol at about 80 proof or higher. Alcohol proof is a measure of the content of ethanol in an alcoholic beverage. Let's take a look at the history of rum. All rum begins with sugarcane. And the tall grass plant originated in Asia and was brought via trade to Portugal in the early 1400s. None other than Christopher Columbus is responsible for transporting the crop to the Caribbean. On his second voyage, he introduced sugarcane to the island of Hispaniola, today's Dominican Republic. And happy. From there, the plant spread across the Caribbean. The history of rum production dates back at least as far as 1650, originating in Barbados. A fact about rum is slaves were brought from Africa by American colonies and traded to the West Indies for molasses. The molasses was then made into rum in New England, and the rum was then traded to Africa for more slaves. The spirit was initially known as Kill Devil for its stronger effects with less than desirable taste. Let's understand where is rum produced. Rum can be and is made about anywhere where sugarcane is cultivated or imported. But the bulk of current rum production takes place in Caribbean and Latin America. It includes Barbados, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, Trinidad, Tobago, and others. Rum is also produced in other countries like Central and South America, Philippines, Australia, and India. Let's understand the manufacturing process of rum. Well, unlike cognac, bourbon, or scotch, rum does not have a universal process or generalization in making of rum. The first step is cultivation and harvesting sugarcane for milling. Sugarcane is harvested by hand in most of the parts of the world. It is a labor-intensive process and it is passed through industrial crushers where they extract the juice from the sugarcane. The extracted juice is concentrated by boiling, and the result is a thick, heavy, rich syrup rich in sugar. The second step is crystallization. The thick syrup is pumped into a centrifugal machine where it whirls approximately 1500 revolutions per minute, resulting in crystallization of sugar and separating that other solids. A thick black syrup that remains is called as molasses, which contains up to 5% of residual sugar. Moving to fermentation and distillation, the molasses has to be diluted with water as the concentrated syrup will not ferment fast enough. And fermentation occurs as sugars are converted by yeast into alcohol. Fermentation can depend and the timing can be as short as 24 hours or as long as 3 weeks. It depends on the strain of the yeast that is utilized and the style of rum that is being produced. Further ahead, the resulting liquid is then put into pot still or patent still for distillation. The uses of the still depends on the distiller's choice and the resultant type of the rum that they wish to produce. Moving ahead, we have aging and blending. The aging process gives rum its color. Rum aged in oak cask becomes deep amber in color, whereas rum aged in stainless steel vats remain colorless. Many rum producing countries require the rum is at least aged for 1 year, preferably in used bourbon whiskey cask. The next step is blending. Blending is the art, and after aging, the rum is blended with other rums differing in age to produce a distiller's master blend before bottling. Rum is aged or rum often blends together batches of various ages, and the youngest aged rum is what appears on the label of the bottle. Once it is completed, after distillation, the rum is reduced to an alcoholic strength of 40% ABV before bottling. The aged liquor is then bottled into 1 liter or 750 ml bottles depending on manufacturer. Now let's understand what is dunder. This particular term dunder relates to rum and is utilized in production of rum. As we know that there is no universal regulation for distillation or production of rum, hence there is variation in production of rum according to the origin of rum. For example, in production of Jamaican rum, dunder is utilized. So dunder is the skimming from the previous distillation, also known as burnt ale, that is added to molasses prior to fermentation. Dunder contains many byproducts that help in future fermentation. It includes dead yeast cells, which is an excellent yeast nutrient. One can connect, or a relevant example one can connect to like dunder is something like using sour mash in production of whiskies. Moving ahead, let's take a look at different types of rums. Something called as light rum. Light rum is also known as white rum or silver rum. It is definitely white in color or transparent. Rums are generally aged in stainless steel tanks for up to 1 year and then filtered before bottling. Remember, rum gets the color from the oak barrels, and when it is a light rum, it is transparent. We have second one called as dark rum. These are the richest rums that receive their flavor from aging in charred oak cask. They have stronger flavors and are aged 5 years or longer. A subcategory of dark rum is those called as blackstrap. Blackstrap rums are made from the darkest molasses produced during the third boil while refining the sugar. The resulting rum is equally as dark, rich, and thick. A next type of rum is something called as gold rum. It's often called as gold or amber rum. They are often quite rich and smooth, and the taste profile is a result of either the production of containers, which are organic compounds produced during the production, or addition of caramel. Gold rums are often aged in the oak cask, which also contribute to their dark, smooth characteristics. Next type of a rum is called as overproof rum. Overproof rum is basically understood as a rum which is very high in alcohol content, and it is potent rum. The alcohol percentage can range from 75% to 75.5% alcohol by volume, and it can be very dangerous if you drink it neat. Hence, it has to be diluted in some way. Overproof rum is also utilized for flambe or in drinks, specifically where flambe is required. We have next something called as flavored rum. Flavored rum is basically flavors that are added by spices or aromatics during the distillation, and it became popular in the 20th century. The natural and artificial ingredients are added for the desired flavor. Looking at the picture, one can say that there is rum which is flavored either watermelon or apple, raspberry, lemon, and so on. Next one we have is spiced rum. Various spices like cinnamon, rosemary, aniseed, pepper, cloves, cardamom are added for the flavor. And the very popular brand of spiced rum we have is Captain Morgan. The next category or type of rum we have is called as rum agricole. Rum agricole is distilled from pure cane juice instead of molasses. It is very exceptional because it must be produced in the French territories, most commonly the island of Martinique, which is governed by AOC. And AOC stands for Appellation d'Origine Contrôlée, which is the highest of the superior wine law in France. And that is equally applied for rum agricole. The next one we have is cachaça. The Brazilian rum, known as cachaça, differs from others because it skips the molasses and instead uses pure sugarcane juice in the distillation process. By law, cachaça must be produced in Brazil, and it is one of the sweetest rum available. Again, or however, Brazilian people or where it is produced, they do not consider it as a type of a rum, but they give it or they consider it as a unique distilled spirit in itself. Popular brands of rum include or namely are Bacardi, Captain Morgan, Appleton, Mount Gay, Clear Heart Rum, Angostura Dark. References. Thank you. I request students of AISSM's College of Hotel Management to click in the link given in the description below to take the quiz on rum. Thank you. Happy learning.